a chance to see yet here during this event, but I really hope we do see them soon because they did sort of struggle here, especially in PHL and in all of the other competitions. I really like seeing the team succeed, and unfortunately we did say goodbye to Skyline during the LCQ for PHL 26, and as we have gotten into Fang Wai here, we do see that HyperSpeed have got control of Vault 1 here. We see the likes of Zookeepers sat on top of the station here, just trying to get some chip damage off, trying to poke, trying to apply some pressure, but I don't think much is going to come out of this. We see the gateway coming out from Zookeepers. Sonar, unfortunately, Realist just being pulled short and falling through the gateway here. Tim now trying to wrap away. We see the likes of Crest just kind of hiding in a corner. RPG coming out onto Realist. Tim getting collapsed in by the likes of the Zookeeper. Looks like they're herding up the animals, and it is closing time here from the Zookeepers, making sure that they don't have to waste any sort of time here, keeping Tim out of the fight as now they take across Skybridge, taking the zipline up into the urban sprawl here of Fang Wai City, looking to get a quick flip onto A, whilst the likes of HyperSpeed just sort of have to bide their time and wait for Tim to coin, as it's going to be too far of a distance for them to go back and grab his piece.
Yeah, absolutely, as that cash out will be winched into the street. We see Bloodcost and Tim moving in on this lower ground while Ploppy is hanging back on this farther area. He was on the rooftop, now down into the street, looking to maybe regroup with his team and get some angles, looking for some much needed information on the invis light, as Tim is making a move for the box and looking to possibly winch it in. He does just that, winches it into the door, barricade out, looking to initiate steal as Sonar drops into the street. Here comes the like of Zookeepers trying to get some damage out, but nothing to be done there as they will gateway out. Outsider gonna be taken out as he dives through the gateway. Tech 800 also taken out. Now it's just Realist alive for the side of Zookeepers as they will get the reset here on Glubcost. Realist getting the flip, but here comes all of Zookeepers. Or, sorry, all of HyperSpeed, I should say, as they're going to initiate their push here onto Cash Out A. But Realist very high up on the top of the rooftops and in a safe position for the moment, so going to be looking for these coins to come in shortly for Zookeepers.
Yeah, unfortunately, the coins are going to be a day late and $1 short, as it looks like this first cash is going in favor of HyperSpeed. I just want to make note here, Lightning, that exit TP from the likes of HyperSpeed really did the absolute most for them there, allowing Zookeepers to sort of fall for the bait. We saw HyperSpeed capitalize on that very well there. Zookeepers now just on the prowl, just trying to find some damage off here. Tech eating the full force of Tim's RPG. Outsider with that LH1, trying to just give the absolute most disgusting bag shots onto Tim. However, it's just almost out of nowhere. It's gone from bad to worse for Zookeepers going down here. And now it's still Gleb and Tech in a 1v1 with Tech taking out Floppy and Gleb taking out Tech. It's so many different Glebs and Techs and Plops and Tims. I'm starting to get all my words mixed up, Lightning.
Hear you on that. What's not getting mixed up is the fact that HyperSpeed are on top at the moment, heading towards Vault 2, possibly going to be going for this B-side plug, as C is a whole marathon away, 300 meters just about from the second vault. Just shy of that 300 meter, I think it's like 265. So B's going to be the closest route, and unfortunately for them, Zookeepers are going to be standing in the way, looking to corral the action. As the vault hasn't been tapped, they're playing this incredibly smart on this side of HyperSpeed. They're trying to get into a position where they don't have to tap this. They want to hold control for as long as possible and burn time, so Glubcost unable to do so. As the tap does come through, they're going to be wrapping around to the southeast side of the area that these two teams are holding, as Ploppy is taking a little bit of shots. Not going to be too worse for wear, as they are going to be moving over to the tea house as they transition over to the station. All of Zookeepers up on the high ground, taking a lot of damage. Realist will be dropped. Outsider down on basically one bar. Tech 800 down on one bar, but these lights, they have quick regen, so they will be able to get back up into full health, but it's still 2v3. Now it's 2v2 as Liquipedia is taking out the action. Tech 800 down on one bar of health. The RPG just narrowly misses. Ploppy taken out. It's just him left alive. The Soul Heavy gonna be harrowed by these two lights, and he's gonna be taken out. The 2v3 gonna be falling in favor of the Zookeepers, as unfortunately for HyperSpeed, they just weren't moving fast enough, so they will be sent packing back to the spawn rooms, as we will be waiting for them to coin back into the action. Zookeepers have a lot of time on their hands to get this B site defended fairly well, but what they don't need is for Outsider to be taking unnecessary damage, as he's going to be dropped a bar of health before he's able to kite back in. And now it's just up to HyperSpeed of how they want to push this objective. Do we want to see them take down oil ground? Are we going to take bridge? Well, right now it doesn't matter, because they're going to gateway across and going to be able to get into this action, as Plopper going to be taking this higher angle on the invis, trying to scout out some information, but won't be able to find anything, as Tim going to be getting the steel heal on B, and going to gate out and away as Realist going to be looking to reflip this for Zookeepers. Taking a lot of LH1 damage to the back, and he's going to be dropped. Zookeepers again in 2v3. They've already put out one. Floppy taken out by Tech 800, but now it's a 1v2. Just Tech 800 for Zookeepers. Or actually, no, Outsider is still up. Now, Realist is back up after the coin. They're going to be trying to reflip this once again, and they might have it this time around, as now it's just him for the side of HyperSpeed.
Yeah, no, definitely the LH coming out, taking out Realist, definitely went in the favor of HyperSpeed here. However, we do see Tim has got the wins onto Realist. Tim, 1 HP against Realist. The entire force of the Zookeepers collapsing in on Tim here. A very late coin coming out of Ploppy, making it incredibly difficult for them to really do much now. However, in saying that, the coin coming out of Ploppy does mean that HyperSpeed here do get a more advantageous position. But unfortunately, Vault 3 spawning just in that divide between Skyline Tea House and the top of Pride Rock here coming across the bridge does mean that, unfortunately for HyperSpeed, they're not going to get as close to a spawn as they wanted. And we do see, unfortunately, a coin coming out of Tim, which does put them in a very interesting position here, leaving him with only one coin coming into this third cash out here. It's going to be quite difficult. Should this get dragged out, it does mean that they are at risk of having a heavy with no coins for a defense.
Yeah, well, he seems pretty confident in the fact that he only needs one to really make it matter, as Dash Out C not being moved, and this is still in the favor of HyperSpeed. They are not the ones that need to move this third box. They have no initiative to be doing so, as Tim will be taking initiative on dropping Tech 800, as Realist and Outsider trying to get in. Realist gonna be dropped down to one bar. Tim's gonna secure the kill. Actually, no, Realist gonna RPG himself, as Zookeepers gonna be taking themselves out alongside of HyperSpeed. Unfortunate self-RPG by Realist, as they're gonna be getting this cash out moved to Vault D, as Glebkos gonna be getting that plug here and getting defenses set up for the side of HyperSpeed.
Yeah, no, it definitely looked like it was going to be in Zookeeper's favor here. And speaking of stuff in Zookeeper's favor, we do see them get an incredibly close spawn with Outsider immediately taking out Glebkos with the LH1 there. Tech now trying to push in, trying to get the flip all alone here. Realist coming to his aid with the winch onto Tim. Tim goes down by Tech and Realist, and now it is Ploppy in a 1v3 scenario. And as we spoke about earlier here, now that Tim and Gleb have both unfortunately perished at the hands of the Zookeepers, it does mean that we are going to see Tim drop down to having 0 coins, as Ploppy, being on the light, doesn't have much of an opportunity here to come in and grab the pieces. Gleb respawning very close to this mega pad here, right next to Skybridge, unfortunately not going to rejoin his teammate, leaving them quite isolated from each other and not providing much in the way of helping Tim get up onto the height here. Tim taking the mega pad, unfortunately slips down, but starts to rotate across this low ground. Ploppy remaining on this height, not really moving. And it's just in a 2v3 here with these guys trying to approach towards Cash RT. 1 minute left on the timer. The red barrel coming out from Gleb. Unfortunately, the dynamism factor sort of preventing him from doing anything. We see another RPG coming out here. Tim with the winch. He's looking to throw down a barricade in the bubble. The dome getting glitched immediately. The winch coming out from Realist. Unfortunately missing. And now we see in the last 30 seconds here, Floppy being chased by the likes of the Zookeepers at half HP Tech coming in behind of HyperSpeed here. Tim really just trying to scout for everyone there. It looks like they escaped TP. Tim going down to Outsider. Realist going down. Realist unfortunately taking out Glebkos. Tech taking out Floppy. It's one apiece for the likes of the Zookeepers as they take map 1.
Well, they're able to corral the animals this time around as Tech had quite the game. 9-3. He put out massive damage on that light. And that's going to be a problem for HyperSpeed if they're not managing their fights better. You know, we saw Tim getting into a couple scenarios where he wasn't around. Ploppy on the Invis light was getting a lot of damage on the LH1, but it just wasn't quite enough of a factor to really sway the tide here on Pang Y. But they will be going on to the next map of Bernal and hopefully being able to change the script here as it is a more long-range map. So that LH1 could become more deadly as we will be seeing a lot of long-range exchanges before these fights get into close-range territory. But we saw a lot of great gateway usage from Zookeepers. We saw that transition from that low ground to high ground as we saw Tim try to swing onto that action. He saw the dome, but as soon as he swung the angle with the Lewis, they were already moved and above him. And before he could react, he was taken out of the fight. So right now, HyperSpeed, they have a couple things to figure out against the Zookeeper team, but I have no doubt that they'll be able to flip the script here on Bernal and get us to our third map of the evening on these head-to-heads.
Yeah, I mean, it's very unfortunate. I mean, it was definitely a lot closer between Zookeepers and HyperSpeed here. Definitely a lot less of an open and shut case like we saw with F&I and Lights Out. But we are going into Bernal here, the second time that we have seen it in the head-to-head series here. We are hoping to try and see this go the distance as we will go to Monaco, one of my personal favorite maps. But as we load in here, we are seeing once again mirrored matchup of HLL, and now as we've got 6 seconds left on the count here, Lightning, what are we hoping to see coming out of these two sides here coming into map 2 on Bernal?
Well, I'm looking to see more utilization out of the long range factor, as I've mentioned, of that LH1. I'm looking to see a lot of picks out of Floppy here, as he's going to be able to get a lot of value out of this long sight lines, and they will get the first tap, as unfortunately for Zookeepers, they are quite a ways away, and I think they're going to opt to hold one of these objectives, as I actually don't see them, so it will be another tech pause here for the moment being, as unfortunately we will I think again have to be actually waiting for a reconnect as Outsider DCs from the game CNS striking once more and taking out another player.
Yeah, unfortunately, we have been having some issues here with the servers and some stabilities, whether it's on the player side or the server side. That's undecided. However, what is decided here is we are on map 2, and I mean, we saw from Bernal, from the likes of Lights Out and F&I, that these vault fights tended to go quite quickly. Unfortunately, for the likes of Zookeepers, they did get the fast spawn. They did spawn on the Assault side by the pool, and now we are kind of hoping and praying that they are going to be able to, like, try and make a difference here, because it does mean that HyperSpeed will have an opportunity to rotate off of bar and head over and do the absolute most that they can by getting this plug onto A very early. It's a short transition for them, but it is a bit of a sprint for the likes of Zookeepers.
Yeah, and the Zookeepers are in the hunt right now for that third qualifying spot. They're looking to join the likes of Tycho and Lights Out in that qualified area, as right now Zookeepers are poised to put this in a 2-0. So ideally, they would want to push the issue quick here, keep their momentum rolling, and not allow Hyperspeed to gain any ground, because it could become quite troublesome if they allow them to build up that momentum and snowball this game into a third map, because Monaco, again, another long range map. So it really favors the side of Hyperspeed with that LH1 and the more long range gameplay, because we saw Tim on the Lewis. So they
Lightning, I
have the
hate to
stronger advantage.
interrupt you here, but it looks like the connection issues have been fixed, and we will be going back into Banal here in just 1 second. And I believe the teams are ready and we are raring to go, and we are looking to start this game back up again. Unfortunately, due to the disconnect of Outsider, they will have to recoin here, but that is more than enough time for them to get back into things. And we do see the likes of Zookeepers take a very fast TP here up onto the cathedral, but not staying here long because they know Hyperspeed have got the vault. So we will be immediately seeing this vault getting plugged into A here. And now Zookeepers heading over. Realist taking some damage here out of Tim. Very, very far away from Cash Out 8 here. We see Ploppy just kind of in cameraman mode, just trying to get something off. Unfortunately, it does mean that the likes of Zookeepers are going to get a quick push and a quick flip onto Cash Out 8. An immediate exit TP. Tech taking out Tim here, leaving them in another, once again, a tale as old as time, a 2v3. Gleb getting the kill on to Outsider, somehow making it out with 1 HP. Realist immediately going for the reset here. And it also looks like Poppy's trying to do the same. Tech noticing this, throwing a glitch barrel out, doesn't do much to stop him. Ploppy versus Tech. Tech ended up getting the kill there. Tim trying to have a chance in hell. Unfortunately, that is an incredibly quick wipe for Hyperspeed here, and that is the first minute of the cash out gone in favor of the Zookeepers. Lightning, it looks like the Zookeepers are trying to continue on their run here of dominating this first cash out. What are we thinking?
I think you're absolutely correct. They have every intention of getting this one done and over as quick as possible, as we saw Hyperspeed just absolutely steamrolled early on. And, you know, it's not good when your heavy gets picked out that early. Tim, unfortunately, dropping for almost immediately in that team fight, as they're going to be gated on top of, but the RPG misses. Tim and Realist exchanging blows as Realist gonna put down the barricade. Floppy gonna get active, but he's gonna get dropped for it, as now it's just him left alive, and Zookeepers, another quick team fight, clean that one up as Realist got dangerously low, but it won't matter. So A will go the way of Zookeepers, so they just have one more box separating themselves and qualifying.
Yeah, and I mean, it's kind of all falling apart for Hyperspeed here. I think the likes of Tech are really starting to show that they are a formidable threat here, especially as being current MVP for the likes of Zookeepers. Gateway coming out of Hyperspeed. They managed to make it inside a cathedral, taking a slow rotate. Banish Bomb, making sure that they don't get exploded. They try to approach here. Tech and Outsider sat on top of the dome here. Tim, only person peeking his head. H+, trying to keep him topped up. However, all this is doing is we're sort of burning through Util. Hyperspeed, what are we doing? Now, unfortunately, Gateway's gone. Gleb by himself. Floppy and Tim stuck together. Tech trying to make something happen here. Getting active, putting Floppy to 2 bars. Tim in no man's land, left up there, half HP. Unfortunately, oh, the H+ keeping him alive, and he gets the pickles to Outsider. Floppy fighting for his life now in a 1v1 against Tech. Tech taking out Floppy, and that's a wipe. And we saw Realist take out Gleb on the opposite side of Cathedral here. Another fast wipe on the side of Hyperspeed. Unfortunately, not really able to do anything despite an early pick, Lightning.
Yeah, and again, Tech adding to his kill tally, 7-0 on this map of Bernal. He's just having an absolute field day with V9S and is not letting up off the gas. As HyperSpeed going to be coming back into this engagement. I'm expecting them to try to gateway up onto that close height. I don't expect them to gateway straight up on the cash out C, but we could see them try to take one of these assault rooftops as Floppy does take one, but the rest of the team are going to be wrapping around to the north side. Glebkos already spotted by Outsider, and he's not going to drop on him, but Tim does find him. The winch goes out, but it misses its target as Glebkos going to be diving on him. Outsider going to gate away and try to bait the engagement here, but HyperSpeed not going to be wanting to bite that bullet quite yet, as Outsider is down on one bar, so you're going to be taking, now's the time, Tim diving, but the height will be flipped. Realist the only one up there, though. It's going to be Tim versus Realist. Tim's going to be dropped out immediately. Glebkos down, and just flipped the Ploppy, but he's going to be dropped out, so this one is probably going to be it, as half the time is remaining on C. It's going to be a dangerous push for HyperSpeed here on this last engagement, and they're probably not going to have a ton of time here, as depending on their spawn, they might not have time at all depending on when they get there.
Yeah, no, for sure. We definitely saw some spawn denial coming out of Zookeepers here, unfortunately, and Tech once again getting an immediate beam onto Kled, taking him out early. And unfortunately, as the time's running down here, around 20 seconds left on the cash out, Tim, half HP, unfortunately, is going from bad to worse for HyperSpeed. And we see with the final 10 seconds coming out, Tech with another kill to his tally. And unfortunately, it looks like Zookeepers are sending the likes of HyperSpeed back into the cash out section.
Yeah, and, you know, there was no getting them off of that box. They had very dominant control of this game, and Zookeepers will be adding themselves into that third qualifier.